Hello and welcome everyone. This week we'll be discussing about marketing to the traveling public. You'll recall that last week we discussed about the introductory aspect of tourism generally, and we mentioned about the fact that tourist providers need to have some basic knowledge of marketing, management, and finance. So today we want to see how tourist providers do market to the traveling public. The learning objectives are shown. We're going to try to explain the importance of segmenting the market to the tourism, identify the four major models of tourist motivations, list and describe the steps involved in segmenting a market. Then we'll move on to describe the major approaches that are used when it comes to market segmentation, tourism market segmentation. From there, we'll discuss the importance of business and professional incentives, mature and special interest and travelers. And lastly, we'll describe how information gained from segmenting the tourism market can be used to target and meet the needs and wants of the traveling public. So starting with the center of the tourism model, there is a tourism model which describe the whole issue or the whole concept of tourism. So at the center of this particular tourism model is the travelers or the tourists. All right, so these are highly diverse group of people, and some are same, some are different. Some have same needs, some have different needs. So it is very, very important for tourist providers to understand their consumer as well as their consumer behavior. So this is going to enable them to be able to serve them better, because it's when you identify their needs that you'll be able to provide services that's going to meet up with those specific needs. So that is why the center of the tourism model is, the tourists are at the center of the tourism model. So moving on to consumer behavior, we mentioned that it's very important for tourist providers to understand their consumer behavior so as to be able to meet their needs. So consumer behavior is the study of consumer characteristics. You want to know their characteristics. You want to know the processes that are involved, okay, when groups of individuals or particular individual purchase and they use goods and services to us to satisfy themselves. So taking good care taking your time to study all this is what is known as consumer behavior. You want to know their characteristics. You want to know the processes they go through, okay, when they are selecting, when they are buying, when they are using goods and services to satisfy their needs. And this is not limited to the tourists alone. Consumers are likely to return to buy the same products when their needs are met. So also in the service industry. When service provider or when consumers are satisfied with the service and providers service, then there is high tendency that they go back to patronize those tourist providers. Now moving on to travel decisions. We've been talking about tourism, tourist providers, and so on. But tourists do take or make decisions before they embark on their journey. We've talked about the various reasons why people travel. All right, we mentioned leisure, vacation, education, health, and so on and so forth. But what then informs their decision to travel? Large number and variety of decisions go into a vacation or any trip from home. You are moving out of your home, you are moving away from your home, you are moving away from your office. So a lot of decisions go into play or come into play when we're talking about embarking upon a journey. The first is the general decision to travel away from home. All right, the length of the trip. All these are factors that people need to take into consideration when they want to embark upon a journey. The destination choice. Where do you want to go? Okay, is it a single destination choice or multiple destination choice? Meaning that you want to go maybe from one destination to another So that is the multiple destination choices. Then whether you want to use travel agents, or I mean, if you want to use travel agents to help your journey, or you just want to embark it on yourself. So that is another decision that the tourists need to take. Do you want to book in advance, or you want to wing it? All right. Then do you want to stick to your plan, or you want to modify your trip during the process? So all these are decisions that are to be taken by tourists. Like I mentioned, let me go through again. The general decision to travel away from home. Okay, you have to decide first. You have to make up your mind that, oh, I need some break. I need to travel. I need to go places. All right. The length of the trip. Do I want to spend 2 or 3 weeks, a month, and more than? What is your destination choice? Where am I going? Where am I heading to? Okay, am I just heading to a place, or am I heading to multiple places? Okay, do I need the help of a travel agent, or do I just help myself? Do I need to book in advance or wing? Do I need to stick to my previous plan? Perhaps I plan to embark upon a single destination choice initially. Along the line, perhaps I picked interest in another place. So do I just modify my trip and continue my journey from there, okay, from my first destination to another destination, or do I stick to my initial plan of single destination choice? So all these are travel decisions that should be made by the tourist. So here is the travel decision making process. We have 5, all right. The first is the decision to take the trip, like I mentioned earlier, okay. The first decision to take the trip. The second is the destination, all right. The third is the destination commitment decision, all right. That's the decision involves a choice that is not only changed, okay, they are not only changed. Then the fourth decision is the pre-requisition decision stage, while the last stage is during the trip decision. Some decisions that you take or that you make during the trip. Some would have been taken prior, some will be taken during the trip. Now we are moving on to information seeking. In anything we are doing at all, not only limited to tourism, in anything we are doing at all, we need to seek information, all right? Although a number of factors actually determine how or where we seek this information, but the most important thing is that we need to have a knowledge of what we want to do, where we want to go, you understand, and people you want to interact with, okay, and so on and so forth. So people really need to seek information. In particular, I mean, tourists in particular also need information about so many things that are related to the trip they want to embark upon, and information seeking is really, really very important. So existing base of knowledge and experiences at times inform the kind of information that you think you need. All right, existing base of knowledge or experience, it's possible that you've had people talk about something. Maybe if a member of your family have actually embarked upon a particular trip and has fed you back or has given you some kind of information about the place and so on and so forth. Maybe that is why you picked interest in such a destination and you want to embark upon that trip. So this form of memory reliance is called internal information search. Okay, it is internal. We also have external information search, which is of 2 types. The first is the personal sources, and the second is the non-personal sources. Personal sources are from their friends, relatives, salespeople, and so on and so forth. So these include individuals. Individuals give you such information, or I mean, they provide such information. The sources, the major sources of personal information seeking are human being, okay, due to social relationship. Then the second is the non-personal sources, which could be the print media, through advertising, you know, and also other forms of media. So tourism suppliers often control the content of non-personal sources. Okay, like I mentioned before, the personal sources involve individuals or human beings, while the non-personal involve maybe media. Okay, media, be it the print or the video, audio, whatever. All right. So tourists also, tourist suppliers, those that provide this and tourism services, excuse me, they also control the information, the content of the information um, that they want to provide for you or that they want you to see. So that is why you see them updating their website, also doing their fine-tuning their advertisements or whatever. So they do a lot of these things so as to be able to control the content of what tourists or travelers actually see or know about them. Then we have what we call induced information. These are messaging that is controlled by the supplier. Like I mentioned earlier, the suppliers actually control the content. So when we say induced information, these are the information that are being controlled by the supplier. It's the suppliers that will tell you that, okay, if you travel within this period, then we're going to give you 10% discount. You understand? If you are traveling at maybe the peak travel period, maybe for example during general vacation, perhaps end of the year, then it could be that maybe they want to give you just 5% and so on and so forth. So these are forms of ways, or these are forms in which the tourist providers or suppliers control or regulate information. So information seeking, business travelers and tour packages travelers also have decisions that are made for them. When business travel, when people are traveling for the sake of business or for the purpose of business, then the information is most likely to have been packaged. To have been, some decisions to have been made for them. Okay, take for example, you want to go or you want to attend a business trip, you want to go for a conference, you want to do some other things that are related to your business. Then there are some decisions that would have been or that may have been made for you. Okay, for example, maybe the date, the arrival date, and the departure date, and so on and so forth. So, or tour package. There are times that you have tourism packages that are a kind of wholesome. Okay, they are a kind of total package. They already have everything provided for you. Talk about housing in terms of we'll talk about accommodation in terms of maybe hotel, your transportation, all right, and maybe communication means and so on. So it's possible that some tourist providers would have included all that in your package. So all those have been already decided for you. You are not the one to say, okay, this is the hotel that I want to lodge in. They already have a package, and all you just do is to pay and they provide the services for you. Meanwhile, independent and travelers may make all the decisions prior to their own trip or completely spontaneous en route. There are times if you are traveling independently, then maybe you want to go to the hotel to see if their facilities are okay for you before you decide to lodge there. So that is another, that is a different scenario from a situation where the travel suppliers, okay, or the tourist suppliers have already provided a total package for you as to your hotel, as to your transportation, as to any other thing that include or that are involved in the traveling. So when you're traveling independently, okay, as a tourist, your decisions may be spontaneous. You may decide to plan your trip or to take your decisions prior to, or to take some en route. Moving ahead, we want to talk about the foundations for understanding tourist motivations. Last week, we discussed about maybe the reasons why people travel in terms of maybe some purposes such as education, leisure, vacation, health, business, and so many other factors. But here we are talking about the various psychological reasons, all right? The various psychological reasons why people travel. And this include the push and pull motivations, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the travel career pattern, and the psychocentric allocentric model. So all these are foundations for understanding the psychological reasons why people actually travel. So we're going to take them one after the other after the slide. So we're starting with the push and pull motivation. All right. People travel, or tourists do travel based on push and pull factors. Okay, we have the push on one side and the pull on the other side. So people, our tourists, are pushed to travel by their individual personality traits or their individual needs or wants. Okay, this is what I want for myself. It's because I have this particular characteristics that I feel, okay, I need to take a break, I need to travel. All right. But the pull factors are those factors that are attributed to the destination. Oh, have you been to Hawaii? Have you been to Concord? Something like that. So it's a very, very nice place. So you read about the place. I mean, sorry, I meant Cancun. So it's a very nice place. Have you been there? So, or maybe you came across it on the website, or maybe some of these pop-up advertisements, you know. So it is that particular destination that got you attracted, okay, that attracted you, that particular destination, pulled you, okay. So that's a kind of a pull factor. For push, it's your own individual personality trait that's going to inform your decision to travel. For pull, okay, for pull, it is that destination that you are heading to that is actually attracting you, so it's pulling you to that particular destination. Apart from these two, we want to talk about the inhibitors to travel. What are those things that hinder traveling? Okay, one important factor is lack of time. Whether you are pushed or you are pulled, there are times that you may just be inhibited from traveling. Okay, you may not have that opportunity due to so many factors, such as the lack of time. You may not have the time. Perhaps it's not holiday period. Perhaps you don't have the leave, or maybe you've exhausted your leave for that year, and so on. So even money at times, it could be that you're not financially capable to embark on such trip. Health reasons at times also, some people may just be sick and they may not be able to embark on trip, as well as security. When you know that the destination of your when you know that the security of your proposed destination is not safe, then you might be demotivated from traveling there. So these are the push and pull travel motivations, like I mentioned earlier. The push factors are those personal characteristics of traits. You have the desire for escape, and you feel tired of a particular place, and you just think you need to escape from that place. You need to leave that place, okay? For rest and relaxation, if you feel that, okay, I've really done a lot and I need to take a break, I need to relax, okay? Maybe for adventure, for health and fitness, maybe you want to learn new things, and so on and so forth. So all these are push factors. On the other hand, the pull factors include the beaches, historic sites, cultural resources, undistributed nature, ease of access, climate, scenery and the landscape, quality, accommodation. All these are pull factors because they are related to the destination. They are related to your destinations, and it is because of those that you want to embark on the journey. Now we move to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs are actually in five phases. Okay, starting from it's a pyramid. It's a pyramid that have five stages. Okay, so from psychological to self-actualization, we have the order there from the most basic, that's the lower need. Okay, we have the higher top three, okay, which is the first three from the bottom. The first three are the lower needs, while the other two are the higher needs. So according to Maslow, the lower level must be met before you move on to the next level and the next level and the higher level. So lower needs of most consumers in advanced economies have been met. Hence, they may want to just seek satisfaction by traveling. Okay, when your lower needs are met, then the next thing is for you to take a break. You want to explore. You want to, know what is happening in other places. You want to visit other places for you to be able to derive satisfaction. So here is the Maslow's hierarchy of need. At the bottom here is the psychological needs. This is what everybody actually tends to, that the need for food, shelter, clothing, all these are basic. So when all these are met, then you want to tend for, to opt for the next level of needs. Okay, you feel that, okay, it's now safety that is next, then the need for, or the need to belong, all right? Then the self-esteem needs and the self-actualization need, which is at the topmost part of the pyramid. So these are the lower, these three are the lower, while at the top here we have the higher hierarchy of the needs. The second motivation is the travel career pattern, right? The second reason, the second psychological reason is the travel career pattern. This explains individual behavior on the basis of stages in its tourist lifestyle. There are three layers of travel needs, the core being the most important. That's the core, is the one at the central, okay, at the center, and that is the most important out of the three the three layers of travel needs. Here are the travel career patterns. At the core, which is the most important, are novelty, the need to escape, and then maybe the need for kinship and relationship. As perhaps a newly wedded couple or newly married couple, if you are living separately, then for either of the parties, whether the bride or the groom, you may want to relocate. Okay, you may want to go and visit your spouse. Okay, if you want to go and visit your spouse, that's a very, very core motive. Okay, so that is what we mean by relationship or kinship. Kinship, you want to travel for the sake of your family, for the sake of members of a family. So these are core motives and they are very, very important. Next is the middle layer, which is moderately important. Okay, moderately important. You want to travel. higher travel career level. Perhaps you want to go for self-development. All right, you want to seek information about nature, you want to see nature, you want to do all sorts. While the outer layer is less important, there are less important reasons for traveling. Now we want to move on to the psychocentric, allocentric model, the plugs model. This is the use of personality characteristics to understand tourist travel patterns. We want to use personality characteristics to understand their nature. We have the continuous from psychocentric to allocentric. It starts from the psychocentric to the allocentric. The psychocentric or the dependables, they also refer to as the dependable. These are tradition-bound travelers who prefer traditionally popular locations, okay, and experiencing commonplace activities, desire predictability in their travels. They want to know they want to travel to places that people have already been to. They've already heard about those places, and they also want to visit those places because those places are popular, and then they are very common places to visit. So these are psychocentric. They are just psychologically maybe attached to the place or attracted to the place. Next is the psychocentric, okay? The allocentric. So allocentric or the venturers, these are innovators who seek out new locations or activities, and activities rather, okay? For the psychocentric, they visit places that are already known, places that are already popular, all right? So they just want to visit popular places, common places. They already have information about those places. But for allocentrics, they are innovators, okay? They like new things. They like discovering new things. So they want to seek out new locations and activities. So they do all this on their own by themselves, okay? They discover it by themselves. Most travelers are somewhere in between venturers and dependable, all right? When you are a venturer, then you are an innovator, okay? You like innovation. You like seeing new things. You like exploring. Meanwhile, if you are dependables, you'd like to have full information, everything about the place you want to visit, and so on and so forth. So many people, or most travelers are actually in between. At one extreme, we have the dependables or the psychocentric. Or at the other end, we have the venturers or the allocentrics. Meanwhile, at the middle, that is where we have most people, most travelers. So they are in between the venturers and the dependables. So here is what we've been talking about. Excuse me. So people that are dependable are on this end here. All those that are near dependable are on this end here. And on the other hand here, we have the venturer, those that are innovators. They want to see, they can see, they want to visit Nepal, all right? For you will not see a dependable person telling you that, okay, I would like to visit Nepal or maybe the North and South Poles. No, it's only a venturer, somebody that wants to discover, that will pick interest in visiting these places. Then you have the near venturer, okay? Then in between is the mid-centrics, okay? In between is the mid-centric. They are not so much towards, they do not tend too much to either of the ends. They are not much of a venturer than a dependable, and they are not much of a dependable than a venturer. So they are just at the middle way course. Segmenting the tourism markets. We've talked about market segmentation briefly last week. So when we say segmentation, it basically means dividing dividing your market into segments so that you'll be able to identify the needs of each of the market segments and provide such a need. Marketing principles can be used to find out what different types of tourists want and need. So if you don't divide, you may not be able to identify the differences between the needs of your tourists or your consumers. So market segmentation, like I mentioned, is the process of dividing a large heterogeneous market into two or more smaller or homogeneous markets. Heterogeneous means the markets are different, all right, while homogeneous means they are the same, all right. So you want to see a large number of markets and you want to divide them. Heterogeneous market is one composed of people having different characteristics, okay? People having different characteristics and needs, while the homogeneous market are those that have similar, okay, characteristics and needs. So with market segmentation now, you'll be able to divide your heterogeneous market into smaller homogeneous markets so that you'll be able to provide the particular need of each homogeneous market. What are the approaches to segmenting markets? You want to segment your market, you want to divide your market. So what are the approaches? We have about 4 of them here as listed. We have the geographic segmentation, demographic segmentation, psychographic segmentation, as well as the product-related segmentation. I'm going to take them one after the other. Geographic segmentation has to do with grouping potential tourism customers based on their location. Of course, anything geography has to do with location. So when you are applying geographic segmentation, you want to divide your market or your consumers based on their location. It is the oldest and the simplest basis for market segmentation in history. So you can group your market into according to maybe nation, region, state or province, country or parish, city, neighborhood, and so on and so forth. So all these are forms of geographic segmentation. It's common for tourism suppliers to market a limited region. It's very, very easy for them when they divide or when they segment their market, then they'll be able to target a particular region. The time and money involved in traveling is often a factor when it comes to travel decision making. Apart from the geographic segmentation, we also have the demographic segmentation, and this involves grouping potential tourism consumers based on their objective characteristics. Each person has his or her own personal characteristics or traits, and this involves the gender, the age, ethnicity, occupation, educational level, income, household size, and family situation. So all these differentiate people or consumers from the other. Okay, it differentiates one consumer from another. So this is the most popular basis of segmentation. All right, and demographic information, they are routinely collected and they are widely available. Okay, there are times that you want to use a website, it will tell you that this website uses cookies, and you need to accept, okay, that they are going to use their your personal data for so purposes. So you have to accept before you can continue. So this is just one of the ways in which data is being gathered. Apart from the geographic and demographic, we also have the psychographic, and this has to do with grouping potential tourism customers based on their lifestyle and personality. Okay, it's based on their lifestyle. Are they high income earners? Are they low income earners? Things like that. Okay, so the lifestyle is the way people live. Okay, the way people live, identified by their activities, interests, and opinions. So all these things are the features that will enable marketers to divide or segment the market, or to segment their consumers based on their characteristics. So for psychographic, the consumers are being segmented, or the market is being segmented based on the lifestyle of people as well as their personality traits. So these are psychographic lifestyle dimensions. You want to segment your market, or you want to group your people or your market based on the activities they are involved in, their interests, and their opinions. So, as far as activities is concerned, we have the work, hobby, social events, vacation, club membership, and so on. For the people's interests, you want to see maybe the kind of food they like, the media, their achievements, the community, or the kind of job. All right. And then for opinions, you want to know their opinion about business, their opinion about politics, education, product, and so on and so forth. So these are psychographic lifestyle dimensions, as AIO or OUI, activities, interests, and opinions. Another one is the product related segmentation. Here, the market is grouped, all right, or the consumers, the suppliers, or the storage suppliers group potential buyers directly from what people indicate they need. Okay, it is what people indicate they need or want to buy in a particular good or service that the supplier will now use as a basis for grouping them. All right, the benefit people seek in the good or service is one of the reasons, or the basis rather. Then the amount of goods of service used, and the degree of the company loyalty shown by consumer in relation to specific good or service are all factors to be considered when it comes to grouping your potential buyers, particularly from what they indicate that they want. That is product related. Okay, that's product related segmentation. Now we are moving on to putting segmentation knowledge to work. You have decided, or you have segmented your market, all right, based on what we have discussed so far. Now you want to put them to work, you want to put that knowledge to work. There are almost as many potential market segments as there are groups of people. This is what we need to know. Human beings are diverse, and so we should know that as much as, or as many as we have these different characteristics or personalities about people, then the likelihood that we will have different groups. So the most important reason for segmenting, regardless of the form of segmentation you want to use, whether it is geographical, whether it is psychological, whether it is based on their need, all right. So all these, regardless of all these factors, or all this kind of market segmentation, what you are particular about, what should be at the back of your mind as the main reason why you are segmenting the market, is to better meet your consumer needs. So as long as you're able to achieve that, then it may not really matter the kind of a market segmentation that you have embarked upon, or that you plan to embark upon. So the most important thing you should have at the back of your mind is that you want to satisfy your consumer, and that should be the reason while you are segmenting the market. Next, the task of deciding when and how to segment the market can be classified by addressing the following questions. All right, the decision, okay, how you want to segment, the decision of how you want to segment, or can be classified by addressing these particular questions. One, can the market segment be easily identified and measured in terms of both purchasing power and size? Okay. Two, is the segment large enough to be profitable? I mean, to be potentially profitable. There are times that when you segment market, then the sub market, all right, each group, each homogeneous group might not be potentially large enough for you to be able to make profit by serving them alone. So you also need to consider that as a marketer. Can the segment be reached efficiently and effectively through advertisements, promotions, and so on and so forth? So apart from the previous points mentioned, you should also note the fact that is the segment interested in the service offered? Okay, you might be interested in providing a particular service to a segment, but you should also be able to convince yourself that are these people actually in need of the service that you want to offer or render. Is the segment expected to be long-term, and will it grow or shrink in size? So by the time you put all these questions, or you have answers to all these questions, then you'll be able to decide if you still want to go ahead segmenting your market, or you want to leave it as a heterogeneous market. So here's the segmentation process. The first is the segmentation approach. You select the approach that you want to adopt. Is it geographical? Is it psychological? Or whatever. Then you create detailed profile of the segments. Okay, each segment, of course, will have their own profile. So you provide a detail, or create a detailed profile. After that, you move on to forecast the market potential of each segment. Okay, which segment is likely to give us more profit? Which segment is likely to patronize us more? All this. So this is all these are included in the third stage. The fourth stage or step is to estimate the likely market share of each segment among the various segments that you have now, which is likely to have a larger market share. And lastly, you decide which segment of, which segments or segments, that's plural, to target and design appropriate marketing mix. So after you must have estimated the likely share of each of the segments, then you will now decide which of the segments will be your own target, and then design appropriate marketing mix. So this is the summary of the segmentation process. Moving on from the segmentation process, now we want to talk about the specialized tourist segments. All right, there are some segments. Okay, there are tourist segments that are specialized. The first is the business and travel and professional travelers. They are traveling for business, okay, or any professional related activities. The next are incentive travelers. Then third, we have the SMERFs. That's the social, military, education, religious, and of fraternal groups. So all these groups are actually traveling for a purpose. Okay, they're for social or for military. Okay, maybe they are going for training or whatever. Education, right? Religious, whether for religious purposes, for example, going for Hajj, or going for, and so on, visiting Jerusalem and the like. So then we have the mature travelers, as well as the special interest travelers. So here is an example or a model of the business traveler profile. 17% of frequent business travelers take 64% of all business trips. That is from a research by Washington and Miller. Okay, they discovered that 17% of frequent business travelers, they do take 64% of all trips. So Average number of trips is 7, average number of nights per trips, and so on and so forth. So according to gender, about 57% of travelers are male, while 43% are female. So this is the profile of mature travelers. Mature travelers represent 21% of all leisure travelers. Okay, when you consider the leisure travelers, you realize that from this particular research, all right, by US Travel in 2010, we discovered that the mature travelers represent 21% of all leisure travelers. It's also noteworthy that they travel primarily by car, truck, or recreational vehicle. That's about 75% of them. Evolution of special interest tourism. For special interest tourism, we have the general interest tourist, we have the mixed interest tourist, as well as the special interest tourist. For general interest tourists, they just want to have a general knowledge. Okay, where would I go? For mixed interest, where do I want to go and what activities can I pursue there? They want to know, apart from the place that they want to go, apart from the destination, they also want to know the activities that they will be engaged in when they get there. So for special interest tourists, they still want to, apart from this, they also want to know what interest or activity do I want to pursue and where can I do it. So these are the questions that special interest tourists are going to answer. Example of special interest trips, we have the archaeological, the culinary, dark, educational, heritage, all right, birdwatching culture, medical, winery, and so on. So all these are examples of special interest groups. Types of sport tourists is what we're going to talk about next, and these include outdoor or nature sport tourists. They usually travel substantial distance to participate in a chosen sport. Okay, they can travel from maybe Africa to Asia, okay, to Europe, to America, and so on. So this is outdoor or nature sport tourists. Okay, most of these sports are non-team, non-competitive, but some require substantial skill. Frequently, participants return to the same destination many times throughout the year. All right, we have the resort and sport tourists. Okay, they typically travel to highly developed luxury reasons. Okay, resorts. Sorry, they travel to highly developed resorts to participate in sports such as golf and tennis. Yeah, I think that's very common. Then we have the amateur team sports tourists. They travel to participate in team sports or travel to watch, coach, and support team members. Then we have the athletic spectators. All right, most of them travel with a group of friends or family members. Travel is to high-profile events, for example, the Olympic Games, or scheduled professional high-profile sport team games. So these are the types of sport tourists that we have. So lastly, we want to talk about delivering high quality service. Okay, delivering high quality service. We've been saying that as tourist providers, you should be able to identify your markets, you should be able to identify your consumers, and you should be able to understand their behavior. Okay, so how do you now deliver, or what do you need to know to deliver high quality service to your consumers? One, you must know that you must meet consumer expectations by satisfying their wants. It's at the core. That should be at the core of any business. Okay, the first thing is to satisfy your consumer wants. And secondly, there is need to provide consistently high quality service. It has to be high quality and it has to be consistent. So you don't move up and down, like you don't deviate. So you make it of high quality and you make it consistent, such that there is continuous patronage, so that your consumers will not be disappointed. As market becomes more competitive, service quality becomes more critical for success. That is another thing, because the market is a competitive one, no doubt, but as long as you are able to provide quality service, then there is assurance that you will likely survive, or your business will likely survive. Thanks so much for your audience so far. We've come to the end of our class for today. Hope to see you again, inshallah, in another class. Okay, before then, take care of yourself and see you soon. Bye.